16th, 2020 for level ones. Thank you for being here. Who we have on the call are Monica Dubé, Pedro Mashlev, Josh Moreno, Tim Wagner, Noah Torres, and Tom Nestor, and Nahala Hatum. And I'm joining you as well, Sherry Lucky. So welcome everybody to the call. And we'd like to get started, I believe, with the reason or the bold statement. So who would like to generate the bold statement?
I can generate it.
Yeah, good.
Go, Noah.
The bold statement of who we are. We, the course supervisors, are given by a possibility bigger than ourselves, holding as sacred the integrity of the clearing in which transformation occurs, causing the fulfillment of our brand, master providers of whatever is needed.
There you go.
Okay.
Signed off.
I think he is already.
Yeah.
I was checking the grid last night, and yeah, people are starting to use it, so that's pretty exciting. Tim, are you going to roll that out in the meeting tomorrow? By the way,
Level 1 checklist. Is that what you're talking about?
yes.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, I think it's ready. Nahala, yes. No more additions, edits. Nahala, you're muted if you're talking.
Yeah, I'm using my phone trying to figure it out. Okay, so yeah, I removed JD from the list. Did it show up on the copy that's in the drive?
Say it
That's
again.
where I
What did
did
you
it.
remove?
So I did
JD.
edit it to reflect that JD is no longer.
Oh, JD.
On there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
When did you do that, Nahua?
Oh, it's been after the email that was sent out by Tim.
Mm-hmm.
You know that JD was no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
There was maybe a couple days, 2 or 3 days after that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. It's in the drive, so I didn't know if it showed up for you guys as well, edited that way or not.
Well, it's a spreadsheet. It's a Google Sheet that's shared with everybody. So that's what you would need to be updating.
Right.
Is that where you went? Did you go to the Google Meet?
Yeah, I did.
Where it's deployed? Okay, good.
Not the Google Meet, but Google Drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but okay, a Google Drive is just a folder. And inside of a Google Drive will be Google Documents, Google Spreadsheets, Google Presentations, Slides, I guess it's called. So you can have things in the drive that is not actually a shared Google Sheet. It was created and shared with all of us. So that's why we want to be clear. I'm going to go into it and look.
Yeah, go in and look, because I went into the one that's in our Google group and updated that one. And I have to say I didn't check about JD, so I didn't notice that.
Well, when you say in our Google group, what do you mean by that?
Well, the document's actually deployed there in that group, not just on the Google Drive.
Who deployed it there?
I think you did. That's where I found it, I thought.
Okay.
You
Well,
didn't do that.
let me say this. There's one spreadsheet. There's one spreadsheet called L1 Competencies Tracking V2. Now you can create shortcuts wherever you want, but it's still the same spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet. Are you on there now?
I'm looking at it now. Yes.
Can you see that Monica and Tom have some things marked?
And I see Sherry and Pedro are both here looking at it. And
so Monica and Tom have things marked off.
Yep.
And
so does Joshua, Felipe.
We still have Scott Foreman and That's it. And you're right, Nahala. I don't see JD.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see Scott. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I removed
yeah.
Scott as well.
No,
I think
no,
I
Scott-
removed, maybe I didn't.
No,
Let me
Scott is
see.
there.
Okay.
So that's easy to
We're
do.
all looking at the same file.
Yeah, we are.
Yay!
That's pretty awesome, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. Well, let's get it out to the level ones then tomorrow so that they
Yep.
can go on and start to review it and
Mm-hmm.
get familiar with it.
Okay, I just removed the columns for Scott.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so it should be up to date. So Sherry and Pedro, if you have anything to add, or Nahala, anything to check off for anybody?
Yeah, in terms of Fran, she's still listed as a mentor. So for those who have Fran as a
Uh-huh.
mentor, who's gonna, that needs to be replaced by,
Yeah, I'm doing that
I
right
think-
now.
okay.
Okay, so you know the answers to that, Tim, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe that's it. So for now, Colin Corrigan is going to be working with Javon, and Sherry is going to manage Julie's last, I guess,
Okay.
3 weeks.
Last
Yeah.
month of magic.
Yep. Month,
Yeah.
magic.
Yeah.
The magic month.
She's doing her disappearing.
So Julie's still planning on completing as course supervisor at the end of the quarter?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. That's her anniversary, and she had indicated that she was not going to extend. So, yeah, she wasn't going to re-up. So, and I have reached out to her, but she's not gotten back to me. So if you've spoken to her and know something different, I'd love to know that.
No, I haven't spoken to her.
I have. I think you're right, Sherry.
I think that's right. Okay.
Yeah. We didn't go into details, but she's.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was the message she'd been giving Fran consistently. So, yeah. Okay, well, so tonight we are going to have Pedro create for us the Being Powerful exercise.
Yeah.
Cool.
Senor Dennis, welcome to the call.
Oh,
Thank
Dennis,
you.
welcome.
I see you're joined in as Gail.
I know,
Gail.
I'm changing, I'm
Margaret.
going to change my name.
Okay. Tim, was there anything else that you wanted to create with everyone? No. Okay.
No, thanks.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I don't see.
So,
Hold on.
all right, so here we go. Okay, so so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to set up and recreate as best as I can, the conversation about being powerful, okay? So let me just set you up in the timeline. So this conversation happens on day 2, and it's the day 2 after the end of the second session, which is, it's actually on session 3. It's right before the meal break. And, if we look at the timeline for this conversation that is going to happen, it's actually right after the conversation about superstitions, which I know some of you were participating on the call last night. Okay. And, and we've had this conversation here, but in any case, it's the superstitions, the ASI and problems. And before the break, there is a creation, which is, what is our fundamental point of view about life? Okay. So when we begin the session, for us course supervisors and for the participants, we walk into a space of, like pristine clarity, no movement, no, nothing happening in the background. We just want to keep the room really pristine and settled for the conversation, for the clearing for the conversation to happen. So, the way the conversation is set up and part of the intention of you know, really the intention of the conversation is to really get, you know, the context in which we, you know, look at ourselves in whether or not, you know, we're being powerful, or what are you overpowered by fears, okay? And, you know, the way it's set up is people will walk in, everybody will settle down, the setup, the exercise will be set up, and this is the point where everybody's sitting in their chair, and, you know, people are asked to close their eyes. So what
Could I interrupt you for a second,
yeah,
Pedro?
absolutely, yes.
So as a course supervisor, you're accountable for holding the space of the room. And you want to be in communication, or have your lead be in communication with the leader to see who he wants or who she wants in the room during this exercise. Lately, the leaders have asked that no one be in the room except the course supervisors. So you just want to get that flat, because your production team often will want to be a part of this exercise, and it often doesn't work for them because they behave as participants, and it just doesn't work for production team to be in the back of the room participating in the exercise. So if they are going to be in the room, and again, you get that clarified with your leader, you want to make it clear to them that they're holding the space for the exercise rather than participating in the exercise. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, Pedro. I
Yep.
just wanted to
No,
get
no,
that
that's
in.
perfect. And Tim and Dennis and Sherry, if you want to jump in at any point, please do. Okay.
I will. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Okay.
Sherry just mentioned holding the space. I'd like for somebody to share what does that mean to you, holding the space? What are you doing? How are you being? You're holding the space of the room. And, you know, you don't have to have the right answer. Just share what you think that means, if you will.
Well, I'll go ahead and say something about that.
Sure.
When you walk in the room, you look at the whole room and you take on everything in that room. The back tables, the chairs, everything around the room and so forth. And you really can't make anything wrong. Everything is the way it is. So you're in a mode of what's so. Now, if something is off, you then look at, well, what's it going to take to fix it without adding a disruption to the room. And if something is off and the disruption would be, you know, blatant, and what's off is not blatant, then you leave it alone. So that's it's a quick example, but the space is, that room is yours. Nobody's going to tell you what to do about it. You own it. It is what it's going to be because you said so. So that's kind of the space that I take when I walk in a room like that. And I keep training myself with, okay, what's it take in that particular exercise, in that particular time to maintain the experience that we want those participants to get. And, you know, I've been known to make the wrong decision from time to time in those things, and it will not kill the forum if you make a mistake. It will be worse if you don't own it and try to cover it up and, you know, whatever else. You just like, okay, move on, keep it going, keep the Landmark Forum Leader supported and keep your eyes open for everything. That's that's the kinds of things that I take on. And there's no formula to it.
Yeah.
It's who are you going to be in the back of that room, and who are you for that room?
Thanks, Dennis. Anybody else have something like to share about what it is for you to create the clearing for the conversation?
I guess I would want to know exactly what the clearing would be first and be flat on that.
Yeah.
I'm really not, because when I reviewed the forum, I was not there. I had to leave for a few hours, so I was not there for this exercise. And every time since I've been on a forum, I have not been in the room.
Yeah.
Sit in the room. Mm.
Yeah, so I did my forum in 2012. I remember the exercise, but I've only participated in it once. And so I really have no idea what kind of space I'm supposed to create.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Anybody else? Monica, Noah, Joshua?
Holding the space, being the clearing, is maintaining the integrity of that room, the utmost level of integrity of that room, and making it completely seamless, as if there is no one else there except but that participant and the person that they're with. And just really clearing that room so you don't hear a single pin drop. There is nothing that's being interacted in that room except what that participant is experiencing for themselves.
Great. Thanks, Joshua.
For me,
Mm-hmm.
the experience is being that nothingness that allows for whatever to show up and be with nothing added, nothing taken away. It's just, it is. And being present as well, holding that integrity of the space, the room, that nothing gets in the way for whatever needs to show up for every participant to show up, or for whatever it may be. There's nothing that needs to show up. Whatever shows gets in the way for them. That's the experience. And also sort of like that safe space, like allowing them to feel at ease and at peace, or at ease and with the freedom to just be.
Great. Thanks, Noah. Noah, your connection is a little weak, that you were frozen quite a bit, but we could hear everything you said. Okay.
You got it.
Yeah. Monica, anything
Awesome.
for you?
I was going to say the same thing Noah said about the holding the space of nothing,
Yeah.
coming
Great.
from nothing and being just totally present, open and aware,
Yeah.
and taking in what's happening, but having no agenda or no preconceived ideas about it, and like just being a space of compassion and willingness to be receptive and be what's needed.
That's awesome. Really, this is the same answer for any of the conversations from day one, session one, all the way through to Tuesday night. It's just to be the clearing for what there is to show up, for the forum to show up, and being actually causing it, being present and causing the conversation to show up. You'll get to a point where you can sit in that chair and then people are at the mic and you can actually cause words to come out of their mouth, and you'll almost fall off the chair when they do, but you really can cause the conversation. Okay, great. Pedro, thank you. I wanted to clear that up.
Yeah, no, perfect.
Yeah.
And well, I'll give you an example of what it looks like to be the clearing for something or not. I remember when I was in a meeting with the forum leader, he had specifically said, nobody in the room. And I was out as a CSA and I was doing statistics and I was running around the, the center. And I just so happened to walk in the room when I was specifically told not to. And all I can see is the forum leader face looking at me and just going like this. So, you know, and like Dennis said, you know, what there is to do is just to own it. Look, I didn't pay attention, whatever, but you know, that's what it looks like. So even if you're out of the room, you're actually holding the space for, you know, like guarding the doors and doing whatever is needed to have that room be silent, quiet, and you know, people will get distracted with anything. So, okay.
That's
So-
great. Just a logistics issue too. You do want to have one of your production team members or two stationed outside the doors so that no one comes into this meeting, because as Josh referenced, you know, we want to create the space as safe for the people. You're doing an exercise about fear and then really getting in touch with their fear. So our promise to them is no one's going to come in and interrupt this session, except Pedro. You know, nobody is. So we want to take great pains to make sure that people are not coming into the room unless they're a participant and they happen to enter late or something like that. But, you know, there's always a participant in the Introduction Leaders Program who comes up and says, I need to be in that room now. No, they're not going to be in the room. Once the exercise started, we're not going to let anybody in the room unless they're a participant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have a funny story about that too. The first time I did this exercise as a course supervisor, I heard it that no one could leave the room. So I stood at the door and didn't let anybody leave the room the entire exercise.
Oh my gosh.
So I hearkened back to the S days, I guess. But you know, nobody left and it was awesome. It worked out fine. Few people attempted, but I was right there to say, no.
Yeah, and if you're in a venue, a hotel or something, you always want to watch for the service entrance too. You probably want to have somebody assisting posted out there in that lonely, dark hallway. But if somebody in that hallway hears a noise, they might stick their nose in, you know, and we do not want that to happen. So this particular exercise is one of those where all entrances need to be dealt with.
Yeah, that's a good point. People will express and emote their emotions, you know, and I never thought of what Dennis just said. People in the service area could hear something and be concerned. So good point. All right, let's get into it.
Sorry, Pedro.
Okay. So, look, basically the exercise is very simple, okay? And what it is that, you know, as a course supervisor, you will have, or the CSA or the lead, you will have put a document at the beginning of the session or before the beginning of the session, which is called the population figures. The population figures is a simple document. It's in our manual. And it's a guidance for the forum leader who's leading the conversation to know how many people are in the course right now, then how many people are in the state of Florida, how many people are in the United States, and then how many people are in the world, okay? So these are numbers that, you know, you will sit down, update it in the document. Typically, us as course supervisors will have this document already ready. The important thing is to have it there so they can use it as a guidance. And the way that the exercise is set up is really simple. Participants will sit down, they will put their hands, you know, they will just be settled in their seats, put their hands in their legs, okay? So just be settled. And then they will close their eyes, okay? So imagine that you're listening to a conversation with your eyes closed. You have like focus and attention just in you and listening to the conversation. So the way the conversation goes is the forum leader will create with the participants, what does it actually look like for them to be sitting in front of, not in front, but they're getting present to that there are two people right next to them or people right next to them and that they are afraid of them, okay? So this is how the conversation begins. You're sitting down, closing your eyes. Imagine that the two people that you are afraid of the two people who are sitting right next to you. So as the conversation goes, the conversation starts expanding into a bigger view of how afraid are you of the people around you. So you have two people, then you have the whole room, then you have, you know, you grow it into the whole number of participants, and that's what the forum leader will read. Okay, there's X amount of people in the front, and you are afraid of it. And then it keeps expanding and growing and expanding and growing. So as the conversation grows, you get into all the state of Florida, you're afraid of them. All the people in the United States, you're afraid of them. All the people in the world, you're afraid of them. And then, you know, imagine that as a participant, you're, you know, out of all the conversations you've had so far, you're creating this in your thinking, in your mind. And at this point, it becomes like the highest level of fear is that you're afraid of the whole world, okay? And then at this point, some people will experience what they're experiencing in the moment. Some people will laugh. Some people will open their eyes. Some people will be crying. Some people will be very afraid and they'll be crying. So this is where the, you know, the holding the space comes in, is to hold the space so people can experience whatever it is that they're experiencing when they experience fear, okay? Then after that happens, there's a moment where it kind of settles, and then the conversation starts turning around, okay? So the conversation starts turning around saying, okay, well now just imagine that the two people that are right next to you, the two adjacent people that are right next to you, are afraid of you, okay? And then the whole room is now afraid of you. Imagine how powerful you are. And then the whole state of Florida is afraid of you. And then, you know, the whole, you know, United States, the number of people in the United States, and I'm just going to read you the numbers. 180,000 people in the city of Fort Lauderdale are afraid of you. 22 million people in the state of Florida are afraid of you. 327 million people are afraid of you. 7.8 billion human beings are afraid of you. And at this point, you're going to see that the room will start shifting a little bit. People will start experiencing a different experience, a different, a different mindset, when it is not them that they're fearing, it's that people are fearing them. There's a point in the conversation when the forum leader says, you know, you want to get how powerful you are, walk into an elevator to a bunch of people, close the doors and say, boo. You know, and then at this point, you know, you can hear everybody laughing and all that. And, you know, this is pretty much, as the room starts settling down, people will start getting present to the fear that was a context for them, and now how powerful they can actually be when they shift the context of how things occur for them, okay? And at this point, you know, people will start experiencing what they're experiencing. And then the forum leader will, you know, will pass around as course supervisor, will help support people with, you know, Kleenex, and people will, you know, dry their eyes and all that. And then in a moment, he'll say, okay, in a moment, just open up your eyes, just be with the room, be with the experience that you're in the room. And, you know, just share, what did you get out of this exercises? What are you present to, okay? And then people will start, you know, sharing about their experience. So, you know, one of the important things about this exercise for the participants is that there is no specific or intended result that they need to express, or there's any specific right answer, okay? People will come up to you after the exercise and, oh, I didn't get anything, or I didn't get that, or I didn't get this, or I didn't experience this. It really doesn't matter. It's the being in the space where your context shift, where you are afraid of people, and then if people are afraid of you, It's a shift in the context of how the world occurs for you. Specifically because the context that people live in life is that life is dangerous. So this will bring you to the end of the exercise. And then again, there's no specific intended result other than for people to get that if they shift their context of how they view the world, they can actually get how powerful they are. Okay? So, is there any questions?
Nobody? One of the things that we talked about in the beginning about what it would look like to hold the space, to be the clearing, to be causing the conversation is you may find yourself as the leader is creating the conversation, wondering why people aren't getting upset, wondering why they're not expressing a fear, wondering why they're not getting it. You may see people with their eyes open and you may have some internal conversation about they're not doing the exercise. Why aren't they? Pay attention. You may have some internal dialogue of your own about how it should be going. That's absolutely not causing it or creating the clearing. That's internal. And in this part of the forum, it's really easy for us, me, sitting in that chair to be really judging and evaluating how this should go and how they should be about this. So like Pedro said, there is no perfect outcome for anybody. I've seen people absolutely break down sobbing and crying, and at the end of it, totally get the hilarity of it and laughing their butt off. And then there's people who will just sit there with nothing. So there is no right way. Everybody will react, but you want to watch what goes on in here and what you're actually creating out here will make the difference instead of being in your head about how it should be. Or why is that person, laughing already? We're not in the laughing part yet. So.
That's so great, because it really does, your opinions will come up, your internal dialogue will start having a conversation with you, and you'll start to make it wrong or judge and assess, and but they should be more, they should be getting this fear up and out, and it just goes the way it goes. Yeah. And it's perfect however it goes. Yeah. I've been in rooms where people have rolled on the floor. I mean, it's spoken in tongues. It's been pretty moving. And then I've been in rooms where not one person is crying.
Yep.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong either way.
No, do you have a question?
Yeah, I've been in rooms where people are screaming. I've been in rooms where I see staff members who are reviewing the forum, and they're just like all over the place. And I'm like, oh my God. I've experienced myself like either, asking myself, what the hell are they doing? Didn't they get this before? But it's just it's just to sit there and just be the space, whatever comes out of anybody. It's just, what it is. It's what they're experiencing.
I just have a quick question. I thought you had said it was on day 2, but this is day 3, isn't it?
No, this is 2.
This is
Day 2, session 3.
Day 3 is empty and meaningless. So
that's
yeah. That's when you get locked out of the room again.
right.
If you're in Sherry's course.
That's your experience. Yeah.
If you look at the timeline, the conversation after the conversation ends is when you have that conversation about the roller coaster. And then the next conversation that happens after that is the beginning conversation of the genesis of identity.
After the meal break.
Which gets created on, Saturday night.
In your manual, when you read your manual, it says that the production supervisor is to provide the course supervisor with the population figures. I don't think that's ever happened for me on a course. But that's what it says in the manual.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do have to assign it to the production manager. It's not even in their book at all.
Right. They wouldn't know what to do. Right. Exactly. So, yeah.
Yeah, usually as a course supervisor, you'll just do it. You'll just go on to Google, look up the numbers and put it in the form.
Yeah. And you just want to check your figures. You know, it may be that someone will say, oh, I've got the figures. And so whoever's the lead is ultimately responsible and accountable that the leader has the right figures. So that person would want to check and verify that those, you know, it's been updated in relation to the latest census figures and that sort of thing. So the numbers are correct. Yeah.
Okay, so that is the being powerful exercise.
So Pedro, you think we should do like a mock about that, or?
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I thought about, let's see. I mean, one of the things that will happen is, you know, either somebody will walk out of the room, which is okay, or somebody will come back and say, I didn't get anything. Could be that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a good mock.
Yeah, I think so.
Anything that you see, Dennis?
Yeah, I think you did the two scenarios, which is what are they going to say if they go out of the room during the exercise or even after the exercise? What do they say about it? And you know, the response really needs to allow for, well, there's something I've said from time to time, which is there's never, ever, ever anything wrong. So no matter what they say to you, it's like, okay, great. I'm glad you got that out of the exercise. What do you mean? I got nothing out of the exercise. Yeah, and that's what you got. And there's no right or wrong thing to get or not to get out of the exercise. And it really is going to depend on how you can be there standing for them. Because, I mean, many times people will come back after the next break or the next day and they said, you know, I couldn't tell you yesterday, but you know, that just really had me shivering in my boots, but I had to be big about it. And you know, so people are going to go through their own thing about it. A lot of delayed reaction happens inside that exercise, and a lot of it is very immediate. So you're going to have to really, what Sherry said about not judging any of it, not making any of it wrong. And really, when you speak to the person, you have to like celebrate almost, don't get effusive about it, but you have to like, great, I'm glad that's what you got. Like, make it completely the way it is.
And then just notice that some people might be, you know, they might come to you and we do a mock like this, a distrust. Well, I'm upset that I didn't get anything out of this, you know, like I had a promise that I would get in touch with my fear and that was just bullshit. So sometimes, yes, it's perfect. And you've got to be out here with the person and what they're saying to you in terms of that particular conversation. Right. So if somebody came to you and said, well, you know, I'm just really pissed off about this. If you said, oh, that's awesome. they might not be happy.
Well, I actually think you could say that. You could get away with that, but you probably should.
Yeah. You know, that's so awesome. That's so great that you got pissed off.
Be creative. It's like,
yeah.
Great. I got that you are pissed off, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can really always point to, well, you want to look at, why are you pissed off?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of right now? There's some fear behind it.
Then the light might go on for them.
Sherry, I can't hear you.
Oh, then the light might go on for them. Something
Yeah.
might pop then, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yep.
that's
Open the door so they can, this is where discovery for yourself can really happen, because they have to deal with, you want to let them deal with how they are when they're afraid.
Yep.
And how that keeps them safe. Being that way when they're afraid keeps them safe, and being that way when they're afraid has them win a game. All of that can come up. Many times you cannot point it out, but you can allow for them to look and keep looking and keep looking and keep looking, because that's where they're going to discover.
awesome. So who would like to do a mock? Anybody?
No, I saw your hand raise up.
What would the mock look like? Like what, Sherry, what's the scenario?
Well, we can create whatever we want to create. I mean, let's see. Who wants to be the participant? Noah, did you say you're going to be the course supervisor?
I can do that. Yeah.
You can do that? Yeah. Okay. Who wants to be the participant?
I'll be the participant.
Tom.
Yay.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Tom and Noah. So just create it, Tom. Whatever you would like to have him interact with, Noah's in the back of the room.
Hey, Noah, do you have a second?
Yeah. Hey, how's it going, Tom?
This exercise was kind of stupid. Like, there's like so many dramatic people. Like, some of these people are screaming and some are crying, some are laughing. It was just so weird. I didn't get it all. Like, I just think like a lot of these people are kind of half crazy, like just like losing their shit all over the place. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, what's going on? Like, there's so much drama, like really just drama about nothing. Like, I don't get it at all. There's something crazy. It's kind of stupid. It's kind of a waste of time. Like a big build up to be there and be quiet, and then all these people are freaking out. Like, I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I got that, Tom. I got that. Yeah, there was a lot of people, right? A lot of reactions here, and you kind of just don't get the whole point of it, and right? It's
No, not
sort
at
of
all.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got that. Well, tell me a little bit more. Like, what was that like for you to be hearing all those people, being so dramatic and just, what was that like for you?
Well, it's just kind of weird. Like, trying to listen to what the forum leader's saying, and then it's like one person's crying, the other one's laughing, somebody else is like screaming out. I think somebody fell out of their chair. I don't know if they fell asleep. It's just, I don't understand. Like, like I'm supposed to have my eyes closed and pay attention, but I had to keep looking around the room because all these people are freaking out.
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom, the only thing I can share with you is that, like you saw everyone's reaction, or the way everyone responded in different ways, some sleeping, some, being weird. And the only thing I can share with you is, there's no one certain way that it was supposed to be. However it was like for you, that's perfect, and just keep staying there with it. And then, come back later and let me know, if anything else opens up for you. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
What's that for you guys? Tom, how was that for you?
I don't know. I just, I don't know that I really got anything from, like, other than it's still just weird. Like a waste of time.
Okay. Did you feel like Noah heard what you said?
Yeah.
So he recreated you, yeah.
I felt recreated, and he understood, and he said there's no right or wrong answer. And, sometimes people don't like that answer. Like, if I was really going to be like all these weirdos, like, and then he's telling me it's okay and everybody has their own reaction. I'm like, not there yet, which is okay. But I did feel, Noah, that you recreated me and that you heard what I said. And, you did what you could, like with somebody just kind of losing it, I thought it was good. Yeah. I did feel recruited.
Good, good. Noah, how about for you?
I got a little nervous. I got a little nervous for a second. I was like, stay with me, Tom. Yeah, that's the only thing that I could that I experienced. Just I was just with it. I was like, yeah, Tom, it's weird, and just stay with me. So. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
he
you.
was very impassioned about it. He really was, and he kept going on. He didn't want to stop. Oh, well, it was just weird. Yeah. So I got that. Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, what do you say to that? Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I noticed was that Tom said I had trouble keeping my eyes closed, or I wanted to look and see what was going on.
Yeah.
You might want to say, well, what was that for? Why did you feel the need to open your eyes? What was your concern about? Was there some fear there that something was going on? You don't want to, of course, ignore or negate their experience. And you also want to point to that we have walls, that we put up walls because we are afraid of people. And we don't want to feel, and we don't want to emote. We don't want to express. So you can always look at, okay, well, what might be going on over there? And just have them look and discover it for themselves. What had Tom say it was weird? There's something there.
Yeah,
Tim.
Go ahead, Tom. Noah.
No.
Yeah. Now that you say that, Tim, it brings up that I did have a thought as soon as he came to me, and that was immediately the thought was, okay, I'm not the Landmark Forum leader, so I don't want to put something in the space, that may be out of what was supposed to be generated, and.
What was your thought?
Well, that was just a thought. That was a thought. Like, I don't want to. Let me not play the Landmark Forum leader right now. Let me just listen to what he said, and then kind of just be there. And
so that's a fear right there.
Yeah.
A fear of screwing
because I could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have heard you acknowledge his weirdness, right? The weirdness that he's seeing in the room, and also invite him to disregard that and focus within himself. What is he experiencing within himself? Disregard everything else, like go internal. What are you experiencing with you?
Yep. Because ultimately what's going on is people are not actually doing the exercise.
Correct. They're probably using that as an escape of their own fears that they have subconsciously, internally. And it's a lot easier to open your eyes and say, well, that guy's weird, and not have to look internally at your own fears that you've been holding for who knows how long.
Right. Because you might cry or weep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what's interesting is that coming from having created that life is dangerous, people will deal with fear in many different ways. And one way to deal with fear is to ignore it.
Yep.
You can totally block, like, all right, I'm not doing this exercise. This is all BS and blah, blah, blah. But that's a way for you to, that's how you face fear. You just completely ignore it or block it. Or you don't get into the exercise because you're afraid that if you deal with something will come up.
Yep.
So it's perfect because there's many different ways. If you really look at it, there's many different ways in which people will deal with doing the exercise. No matter what happens, people are doing it. If people are not interested, they are doing it because that's how they feel. That's how they deal with fear.
Yep.
People are laughing. People have their eyes open. Look, if your eyes are open, you're not wanting to deal with fear. And that's the way in which, and how you deal with fear. Just ignore it, you know? So there's many different ways that you can see it. So anything that anybody's experiencing, it's perfect. Because that's how they deal with fear.
Yep. It's just
Yeah, and
your
it's an
opportunity to bring it up for
opportunity
them to see it.
to get them to
Mhm.
see it. Like
Yeah.
Tom acknowledged that he was very distracted in the exercise. Like some people were jumping off their seats and da 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 da. And you could have said, I got that you were really distracted by other people's behavior. When you get afraid, do you find that distractions help you cope with your fear? You know, you could turn that around with him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that might be like, oh, yeah, actually I do. Yeah, I go and eat an ice cream, or, you know, I watch a show on TV when I get worried, or, you know, when I'm afraid, I sing a song, you know. I mean, people do distract themselves from fear. It's
Yeah.
a way to cope with it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so,
Well, I was thinking, Jerry, when I did the exercise, when I was in the forum, I really didn't get anything, and I got that what I was getting is how I deal with fear. Now, if I'm sitting in a room and listening to the conversation and going through the different stages, my brain is already protecting me, like, shut down, you don't want to deal with this. But then, like today, I noticed that I had to call a customer this morning, and I was afraid of calling him. I didn't want to deal with this guy. But what I was experiencing was a deep fear that this guy would say something and hurt me, really. And it's just a human being. But what is it that I'm afraid of, right? And then I get like, okay, well, I just disappeared it. I just gave up whatever there was and had a conversation. The conversation went completely different. So there's many, I mean, honestly, I'm just getting this from this conversation, but it's amazing how many things you can get just when you look at it.
yeah, it is. It is. I'm getting a lot from this conversation, actually. Yeah.
The other side, you know, the front of the hand, back of the hand conversation is when you are with people, and if you're really present to this conversation, you really can get present to why they do and say and act the way they do. Not necessarily around you, but just in general. You know, why are people afraid to just even have a conversation with you? Why do some of your family members react and do some of the things they do that you just don't get? Life is dangerous. So, you know, for me, it's also, wow, I can really get present to why, you know, my brother is the way my brother is with me around conversations about my father. You know, you can really get how just people walking down the street would be with you, or in a car moving in from one lane to another. When you get that people are surviving, that life is dangerous. It really creates a whole new listening of people when you get the front of the hand. Yeah, I'm afraid of people. Well, guess what? They're afraid of you.
They're afraid of you.
That's the joke about the whole conversation, is everybody's afraid of you.
Hey,
So
Joshua, one thing I want to add to your comment, put a little different spin on it. People don't need to go into themselves to find it. They already are into themselves. That's where they are when they're looking at people and judging people and,
Yep.
you know, like all of that. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So where you want to leave them is right where they are, because they're already delving with everything that spins out of their brain. There's no place to go that's going to be any better than where they are. And where they are is, like you said, you know, going into themselves. It's just noisier. It's a noisier place to be.
Yeah.
And the mastery of it for you would be to be there with them, you know, but listening, just listening, recreating. And in the recreating, they're going to hear you. I guess the thing I would say is you want them to hear what they are saying. Most people don't listen to what they say.
Mhm.
You really want them to hear what they say. As soon as they hear what they say, they might hear the absurdity of the kinds of things that they talk about. It's like, here I am
Oh, that's so
talking
good.
about being afraid.
Very
And
good.
I,
Yeah.
I'm afraid to talk about being afraid. What are you talking about? You know,
Mhm.
just a thought.
Yeah.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, as they say.
Is that being out here, Dennis?
Last September, I went on a 10-day silent retreat. So I literally lived 10 days of my life amongst monks, and it's complete silence. No reading, no writing, no speaking,
No
no
distraction.
eye contact with anybody. You're literally living your life in complete isolation, and you're meditating for 10 hours a day for 10 days. So talk about how many different emotions and memories and everything that comes out of that person, out of me when I experienced it, and the pains. And it's so incredible how memories and traumas and energy just stores itself in the body as pain. And when you're sitting there meditating, at least for me, when I was sitting there meditating, there's a technique that you start scanning your body, right? You start systematically scanning your body for sensations, not pain, not pleasure, just sensations. And you're looking at it from an objective point of view as not painful, not pleasantful, just a sensation. It just is. And what I started realizing was that there were certain sensations in very specific parts of my body that were associated with very specific parts of my life.
Oh, yeah.
So memories and so on and so forth. So imagine the bee with exercise just that much more advanced. So to be able to leave someone sitting there in that space to deal with that, the fears that they're currently experiencing, that's powerful. And that's really what this whole holding the space is. You're literally holding a fort so that way nothing penetrates that person's mindset and the amount of depth that they're going into within themselves to find that fear, or to let the fear find them. So for them to be distracted or to allow themselves to be distracted by something else, it's exactly what you just said. It's them running away from confronting those fears. And it's a scary place. I mean, people live crazy lives and things happen, and it's a scary world, right? So to be able to actually just sit there and deal with that, it's a lot of work. It's heavy work. So we do really have a huge responsibility in holding that space to make sure that they get the most out of it.
Cool.
Thanks, Joshua.
Thank
I just
you.
want to say one thing about when I was talking about the front of the hand, back of the hand conversation. That wasn't necessarily for you to get them to get that. This was a conversation for us to get that conversation. So I didn't want to confuse. I don't know if Dennis heard me having that conversation be with a participant. No, that's further down the line. That's like the advanced course. But for us who are course supervisors, when we have people in front of us, when we have production assistants, when we have people who assist, they're afraid. They're afraid of you. Everybody's afraid of you. Staff members are afraid of you. Forum leaders can be afraid of you for a moment. I'm scared.
Not very long. Usually.
Not very long. Probably not. I'll take that one back. Dennis is afraid of you.
Yeah.
All right. That's why I want to say to clear that up if there was any.
Awesome. Well, great call, you guys. It's 9:01, so we'll call it, we'll declare the call complete unless anyone has anything burning to say at this moment in time. And if you weren't on the call, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to add just one thing.
Yeah.
My experience of what just Tim said was that, and I can also, me as a course supervisor can be afraid of participants as well.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
The other side.
Yeah, you are. Trust me. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're coming up and their life is right there, right? There's something to be said for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I want to acknowledge, was Tom to have a conversation about change, no change? Was that in the
It
plan?
was. Yes.
Okay. So we
So
just don't
we'll-
want to step over that, Tom. We didn't ignore you. It just didn't work for the time allotment.
It seems like we always have it on as a goal to get through 2 distinctions, but we only get through 1.
Yeah. We may have to adjust.
Yeah.
Change, no change.
Right, and we'll do that next Tuesday. And if you guys were not on the call last night, be on the call tonight because it's really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a
The
good call last night.
superstition is, whew, it
Superstition.
is.
You'll really nail it. Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
It
It's
is.
my superstition. It occurs to me that it was a good call last night.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Context is decisive. All right, guys. Good night. Thank you.
Good night,
Nahala,
everyone.
thanks for being with us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Nahala.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye,
Pedro.
everyone.
See you all
Awesome job.
tomorrow.
Bye.
Uh,
Bye.
All right, guys.